I promise I'm going to try to make this a quick rundown. Hello! Today we are doing the runner half of the tier list, the obligatory early in the set tier list. We're just going to get started, no time to lose, starting with our beloved runner, Nova. So I don't have a lot of nice words to say about Nova, but can I take a second just to appreciate how cool Nova is? I was looking at Nova recently, just kind of like staring at my copy of Nova in the box, and I was like, you are a cool Netrunner character. I wish you were real. I wish they did something with this digital twin concept, because as it stands, playing Highlander, like actually playing Highlander in a game so heavily emphasized on consistency is just terrible. It doesn't bear out, it never really works, but like, Nova's really cool. I wish they were real. I don't have anything nice to say. I'm sorry. Beyond that, I just don't. But hey, good news. That's our only inductee into don't tier. Everything else is at least playable. However, at the actual honest-to-goodness bottom of Swiss cheese, we have Padma. Padma is just not very good. And it's not Padma's fault, it's Boat's fault. Charge is kind of a vestigial mechanic at this point. Charging stuff isn't that impactful. Having to run on R&D just means that if you run against a corp with a spiky, like, functional thing, you can't reliably use Padma or, like, afford to use Padma. And by the time you get everything else going with Padma, it's like, this is almost certainly some kind of green jank that I just simply cannot sanction. And she doesn't, like, win games of Netrunner very easily. It's sad. I think she's incredibly cool. She's probably, like, thematically my favorite shaper. She just doesn't have anything left. They kind of took her whole raison d'etre, so that's not happening. Related, Tau is a combo ID. Tau has been relegated to combo. If you're playing Dao, I will never get that right. It's probably because you have something very funny that you're trying to do. And I respect trying to do something very funny, but you know what you're doing. As of right now, there are other shapers that are just better. And the ice swap isn't especially impactful at the moment, especially with the ice that Corps are actually playing. So, as much as I enjoy him, he's just kind of not cutting the mustard at the mo. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. Sorry, buddy. Love you to bits, but it's just not happening. Here's where I am going to spend a little bit of time. So, in my last tier list, in the last set, I said that Mercury was wildly underrated and considered them just meta. I was right. I stand by all of that. People just didn't play Mercury. However, I don't think people have fully realized how... Well, I mean, people don't talk about Mercury. I don't care about Mercury anyway, but I don't think people fully realize just how bad Let Them Dream is for Mercury. That agenda being everywhere makes playing Mercury a nightmare. That combined with stuff like Melia's, meaning that like the kind of fringe Mercury stuff where you set up and then run just doesn't work anymore because you're going to get Ecowood again, combined with dreams not being real agendas, and combined with the fact that if they score a dream, they get to bottom agendas, which means that Mercury will never, ever, ever, ever see them because they're going to run out of gas before they can actually do anything about it. No, it's bad. It's not a good place to be right now. I've had success with Mercury. I still like playing Mercury, but like, this is the Liberation gimmick runner at its worst. It will make more sense as we go. I'm going to talk about Liberation runners a fair amount on here. But that cycle had 3 different runners that all just kind of don't really want to play traditional Netrunner, and Mercury's gimmick is the worst of the bunch, so they're here. Next. Dewi. So, less true here than other places. I think that Dewi is trying to play Reg Shaper, but with extra steps. It's a very she's not like other girls kind of situation where it's just like, all right, I get it, you're doing all of this cool stuff, but like to what end, right? Like you still have the same win conditions, you're still doing the same things, you're not better at doing them though. Right now, it's actually tough to be a super run intensive ID. There's a lot of reasons to kind of sit back and play setup a bit. We're in a daily cast card pool again, you know? A lot of ice is very spiky and punitive to touch. And Dewi doesn't have the easiest time doing her thing at the best of times. So I have not been super impressed despite the fact that I do actually think Shaper is quite good right now, although this tier list is going to make it seem like I don't. Uh, Dewi is tough. It is just tough to play Dewi. Not that a lot of people are doing it, but I think if you're playing Dewi, you are intentionally taking on more cognitive load and more challenge when you could just choose not to do that and get the same result. Hiram. Alright, so I'm putting Hiram here more because of the data than. Because if it was up to my gut, I'd put him in viable. I actually think Hiram's text is very, very good. And I think that there are players who are more shaper brained than me that are very, like. They've demonstrated that they're very capable of leveraging Hiram well. Hiram's a very neat ID that does a lot of neat things. None of which are stealth, because he doesn't need it. Although you can do stuff with Baker, which is fun. The problem is right now Hiram hasn't been figured out, in large part because the other ID in the set, that is to say Vic, was so easy to get a hold of and so easy to get value from. Meanwhile, Hiram is like an info ID, and an info ID is inherently going to be more difficult. And so I do think that Hiram will improve. I don't think Hiram's going to get worse, but I don't think Hiram's ever going to be popular. And that means that he's pretty unproven at the moment. And so even though there is some promising Hiram stuff, I'm not there yet, nor am I fully convinced. I think his text is good, but I just don't think we've really cracked a like winning Hiram list that's consistent yet. Last inductee into Swiss cheese, and our first Anarch, which should tell you something about how we're doing. Rio, bet you did not expect this to be the lowest Anarch. So, like, the problem with Rio right now is that Stick and Poke is no Bankar. Rio got, like, 4 cards in this set and yet does not see play because every other Anarch is better at assembling the Anarch Doom Rig or doing whatever it is that they do. And Rio is slower at it. And so she doesn't really get anything out of it. Like, the text on Rio is less relevant than the 2 influence, as 17 influence IDs often ended up kind of being historically. And I do think that Rio is like a perfectly reasonable home for reg adjacent Anarch, but the real problem, right, is that Rio was always meant to be playing the Rio game where stuff is firing and you have effects like Bankar and what have you that really accelerate the game plan. And now Rio is slow compared to the others, and that's just no place to be. Especially when you could be doing better. And I'm about to make a bit of a claim. I legitimately think Topon's playable. I'm Topon pilled. I'm there. I legitimately believe this now. And I'll tell you why. Anarch has the best rig in the game right now. In terms of breaking ice the normal way, there is no better rig in the game than an Anarch Fractor, an Anarch Decoder, and an not necessarily an Anarch Killer, actually. That last one's not necessarily true. But, like, a decent killer that you can import for fairly cheap because the rest of your rig is all orange anyway. And Topon says, okay, cool, I'm going to save, like, 8 to 10 credits on putting that together. And that's kind of, like, all Topon does. But it turns out that's enough to just play Reg Anarch. Like, it's actually fine. There's a few little variations. There's Anacam Topon. There's completely Reg Anarch Topon that just runs like Keiko. You can go either way with it. And Topon is not the best home for it. I am not claiming that. There is still no actual, like, great reason to play Topon. But putting Reg Anarch in Topon is playable because Reg Anarch is very good. And so I'm putting Topon here, but, like, please don't misunderstand me putting Topon here as saying that, like, oh, there's actually 3 sick Topon decks you didn't know about. Like, no, it's just Reg Anarch. Reg Anarch is good. And so Topon is playable. That's as far as I'll go. Speaking of, hey, these cards are good, but this ID is less good. This breaks my heart. So I love Xayah. I love Xayah a lot. I like 40 card IDs in general. I think Xayah is cool. But get money on a run in a card pool in a meta, what have you, where you're making runs a little less often feels a lot worse. think that Reg Crim and its offshoots are very good. We're going to talk about that a lot later. So just understand that the reason Xayah is here is not because you can't play her. The reason Xayah is here is specifically because her text does less to get you to the point where you're able to present a threat and more to pay you off once you have it. And it's harder to have it when you're not getting help from your ID to have it in the first place. Moving on. Well, are we? So this is a tricky part of the viable chunk. I have 3 IDs here that feel very similar to me. And I'm going to kind of talk about them in one weird blob because they're 3 shaper IDs in a pile. They are Lat, they are Mag, and they are Baz. 3 shaper IDs. Lat is classically good. It's a rough time to be a reg shaper right now. If you are assembling a combo, Lat is a good way to do that. If you want to play Reg Shaper right now, Lat is a perfectly fine way to do that. There's nothing wrong with playing Lat. I still maintain that playing Lat is never wrong. If you are comfortable with Lat, if you want to do the Lat lines and all of that is good. Here's the thing, though. You can't really do Swift Lat anymore because the corp pool just doesn't really like it. And money can feel tight playing Reg Shaper if you're not making adjustments for combo. Everything I said just now... Oh, also, PD is popular, and Lat hates that. Like, that just sucks for Lat. So, I put Lat just a like a hair lower than, Mag. Whoops. Mag. Mag is doing the same game plan for the most part. If you're assembling a combo, cool. If you're playing Reg Shaper, cool. Mag controls her ID ability, where Lat kind of doesn't. And so I value Mag a bit more. It's not to the point where I think that Mag is, like, better. It's really a preference thing. You really can play either. But just, like, understand that a reg-adjacent shaper is a little bit tricky, so you better have something weird going on. And if you have something weird going on, I'm going to stick you in viable for the meantime, unless it bears out that that thing is actually, like, a whole-ass archetype in and of itself. Like, Conduit Shaper combo, a la Magic Man and what have you, from Dolbulb, is amazing, and also probably horribly unhealthy. But I'm not going to give that to Lat and Mag. Like, the IDs are basically secondary to that. I'm doing a bad job of managing this side thing. I'm trying to keep these IDs in the frame. And then our third shaper is Baz. So, here's the thing with Baz. I love Baz. Baz is an incredibly fun ID and a very effective ID. Baz is legitimately powerful. Baz gets mid-run installs. Baz can do really great things with Boomerang and Physarum. And Cup as well, although he's not, like, uniquely good at Cup. It's really the other two that are, like, really solid. Where if you're playing Simul Chips and you're playing Physarum and you're playing Boomerang, you're just cheating. You're cheating nonstop. You're getting in all the time. It's super solid. You are worse Ari, first of all. Just straight up. You are not as good as Ari. And second of all, everything else that they kind of printed to give Baz, with the exception of Underdome, is D-Res support. And D-Res is just not very good at the moment. It is worse than Ice Destruction full stop, and it is harder to D-Res cards than it is to destroy them. And so all of those vestigial pieces mean that you're kind of playing, like, fancy-dancy Red Crim, like Red Crim with a cool hat. And I love playing Red Crim with a cool hat. But Baz is just that right now. Every Baz list that has been worth playing, I'm not including my districts list in that because my districts list was worse than other people's. Look at folks who have, placed similarly or better, to get a sense for, like, the kind of stuff Baz is doing. It's a good deck. It's a fun deck. It almost always kind of feels like you're winning by the skin of your teeth unless you get really lucky. And while that is viable, and there are matchups that Baz just kind of crushes, especially rushy matchups in particular, you sort of have to tech into tall or wide with Baz, and then if you tech into one, you're worse than the other, and that's always been true, but it feels more pronounced with Baz. So I'm not going to spend a ton more time here because I could talk about Baz all day. He's, like, my current favorite ID. But just understand that while Baz is good, I think he's just outside of the Cool Kids Club up here. You know who is in the Cool Kids Club? Reg Crim and Reg Crim and Reg Crim. So, Musliat is the least of these, but like all of these are just what if a criminal played twinning, right? Musliat plays more run events than the other two, but really you're just playing her because she has a draw effect on the ID, and that means that, hey, she gets set up a little bit faster so she can do red crim things. Vic is blue Hoshiko, but you have to find your ID. When you find your ID, you're pretty great. Granted, again, running a ton is harder, and I think Vic's popularity kind of makes the win rates look worse than the actual performance of Vic warrants. Like, Vic is very good. Red Crim is very good. Vic was just really popular because it's really easy to play. It's not necessarily easy to play well, but it's very easy to play. Like, piloting Red Crim will always be a challenge because, you know, you're playing very, very normal, honest Netrunner. And not all the corps are necessarily playing into that right now. But yeah, your matchups are, you know, not, you don't have any truly awful matchups. And actually, you have a decent ob matchup, which is pretty great for you. But that also means that, like, you have a tough time into Melias, you have a tough time into Flood PD. And so, like, these Red Crim IDs are going to run into that. Musliat gets the draw, but can whiff, and that means that her ID is not doing anything. Vic gets to play DreamNet, but sometimes doesn't have DreamNet. As just makes money, like just installs the Red Crim stuff that is more passive for less. And that is good. Is it as good as having DreamNet? I would argue no, but as text does do something. And so understand that all three of these are not actually in order, okay? This is just where Red Crim lives. Red Crim is good. Red Crim is meta. You will play Red Crim. If you prefer to go a little bit faster or to gamble a tiny bit but then be a lot stronger if you succeed, it's not even that much of a gamble, or just be as consistent as possible at the cost of being a little bit slower, it just comes down to preference. All of these are great. I consider them all to be about the same strength, and the little changes like, hey, Musliat, it seems like folks like stealth with Musliat a little bit more, and I don't really fully buy that, but then, like, you know, playing a touchstone in As feels a lot better because it costs a whole one, and then your events are what they are anyway. Like, they're Crim events, you're gonna play them. And then Vic has, like, some stuff, but I think leaning too hard into the tag thing is kind of a mistake. Like, Praxis is good. 3 Praxis is too much. Friend of a friend, you're the wrong ID to play Friend of a Friend. Anyway, point being, Red Crim with twinning. It's good. You should play it. You should know how to play against it. It is vanilla Netrunner, and so it cannot be busted, but it is very, very good. All of them live here. They all hang out. They're one cool polycule. Next. Ari. So, I legitimately, and I'm not kidding here, I legitimately believe that Ari is broken. I think that all of the Liberation runners circumvent playing the game in very significant ways. Mercury ignores ice. They don't get to do it forever, and so they are the weakest. Meanwhile, Ari does get to do it forever, because being face check proof is incredible. Being a 5-click runner most turns rather, is incredible. And Shaper has a ton of ways to just win games. Ari is amazing at that. Ari's stuff, the kind of like Trojan package and everything that Ari gets to do, is better than playing Reg Shaper. It is an incredibly powerful effect. It's an incredibly powerful archetype of deck. And when I say archetype, I'm not using it correctly, because the thing with Ari is you can lean into a lot of different areas, and an Ari deck doesn't mean one thing. Like, there's a lot of flex within what makes a good Ari list. The trick with Ari right now is not that Ari isn't powerful. The trick is that the cognitive load of playing Ari is just higher. You need more reps in than you do for playing Reg Crim, or than you do for playing Reg Anarch. Like, you have to work harder, because Shapers are harder to play. Like, a good high-end Shaper is better than most things, and difficult. And so, Ari is great. Ari's amazing. I think, if people put their reps in, and really teched into, like, what's popular, I see a world in which Ari is top 1. Legitimately, it could be true. I just think Ari's ability is bananas, and the stuff that Ari is allowed to do is bananas. And Ari got Stowaway, which is only really good for Ari, but is really, 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 really good for Ari. So yeah, you should be learning Ari. If you have any interest in playing Contemporary Shaper, like, you should. This is where you need to spend your time. Ari is amazing. Ari is like oppressive to the point where like you just can't keep her out. It's just a question of how hard she's gonna hit you and when. But we got to talk about Anarch because as strong as Ari is, I am also letting the data sway me, and uh, boy oh boy, these two. All right, so Lu is the reggest reg to ever reg in Anarch, right? With the total obliteration of Hoshiko, praise be, Lu has kind of taken up the mantle of being the reggest Anarch around. There are other Lu decks as well, but in practice, Lu is a value ID that just does his job very well. And so, this is a stronger, easier thing that wins games of Netrunner. Lu is very, very, very good. There really isn't a lot to say. The Anarch Doom rig is just the best rig going at the moment, and Lu is one of the best at getting it onto the table in a timely manner and getting value out of that ID consistently. If you're leaning on Audrey as a main thing or a backup, Lu is happy either way because it synergizes perfectly with Lu, and Audrey is very, very good. But even if you completely ignore that and play totally straight-laced Netrunner, Lu is one of the best ways to do that. I do think, however, that despite, this is me going against the data a little bit, that despite the win rates not fully bearing this out yet, because Lu is technically top performer in the cut at about 56% at time of, at me having refreshed the page a little bit ago, I actually think that Essa has a little bit more potential. So there are kind of two ways to go about playing Essa. You can either play the sort of Essa that we were accustomed to seeing last year, where it is an Essa deck. It is a unique Essa deck, right? You're playing all of the things that just sort of circumvent actually doing playing regular Netrunner minus Behemoth because it's the best fractor in the game, but only Essa can play it. Or you do like what Warlock did and just build Reg Essa. And so you have Essa doing Essa things, getting the core incentives, playing Running Hot, playing all this other stuff with the Doom Rig, with the best fractor in the game now, actually. So it's even more affordable. You are richer than God, and you just get to run. And the biggest issue that Reg Essa runs into, that Lu doesn't run into, is struggling to have like a knockout punch that isn't finality, because that Reg Essa list has a little bit of trouble running stuff like twinning. But, like, the thing is, that's fine, because you break for pennies, and you're ultra rich. So, I think that style, going forward, will probably bear out to be a little bit stronger than Lu. But, honestly, that distinction is so small as to not matter. Also, I don't know why it's zooming out the card over and over, but the DB's resolution is already a bit low, so, whatever. Figuring out the technicals. I fear Essa a little bit more, and also one kind of X factor that Essa has that Lu doesn't is that they kind of just get to win games sometimes. Like, sometimes Sabo just wins games. Sometimes they just shed a Lux line and they lose. Like, Essa is a thief and a saboteur, and sometimes that extra bit of pressure just wins. Because, like, you don't need to focus as much on building a twinning. You don't need to focus as much on establishing all this other stuff when you're effectively creating your multi-access over time and forcing them to burn spin doctors at really, really awful windows in order to stop you. Overall, really disruptive, really strong, and I think that that extra push of the Sabo puts them just over Lu, but, like, understand that I say that, and, like, the data doesn't bear that out yet, and it might not. I think that a lot of people, generally speaking, easier archetypes like Reg Crim, like Reg Anarch, are popular, and so they will continue to show up and continue to do well. But yeah, That's where I'm at on that. I put Essa a hair above, but understand that they're much like the Red Crim contingent. This is the Reg Anarch contingent, and they're doing great. Hi Topon, you can kind of do it too. You're just not as good as Lou and Essa. Sorry. All right, I think anybody who was looking at a tier list for Vantage Point was like assuming that Seb was top one, and I do think Seb is top one. But I actually want to talk about Seb a little bit differently than I've been talking about the rest of these runners. So, yes, I am putting Seb in Lamau. Yes, I think Seb is a problem. But I'm sort of two minds on it. It's a little complicated, and it's more complicated than Ob. Let me open by saying, I think Seb is a less broken runner than Ob is a broken corp. I think it would be very easy to bring Seb into line, using only the tools that NSG already has at their disposal. And I think that runner balance is better than maybe this tier list visually implies. Like, if you look at this a little bit closer, now that I've got all of this, not like that. That's about as good as that's going to get. If you look at all of this as is, you might think, oh, wow, Shaper's not doing great. But, like, the thing is, Shaper is doing fine. They're just hard. And people aren't inclined early in a card pool to do hard things, right? Reg Anarch and Reg Shaper are good. Ari is amazing. I think I misspoke. Reg Crim and Reg Anarch are very good. Reg Shaper's fine. Ari is amazing. But Seb doesn't play Reg, does he? No, Seb doesn't really play a regular win condition at all. As a matter of fact, a lot of Sebs don't have a win condition. See, there is a school of thought among a subset of Anarch players in particular that given, and this was outlined in like the write-up for Vampire, Hoshiko back when, and a bunch of other things, but this has actually existed for quite some time. This has existed as long as Noise has existed, which is that given a neutral game state, if the game state never changes, the corp will lose, because the corp will eventually deck themselves. And so Anarch then has always been the most capable faction of stretching the game out in such a way that the corp simply can no longer win. Seb is that, taken to an extent that I don't even know if NSG actually intended. Because you look at Seb's text, and there's nothing on Seb's text that says, I don't care about agendas, I get to do what I want. But the totality of the Anarch card pool, especially the cards in Liberation, because Liberation was kind of a messed up cycle, have led to a point where, again, Merc got to ignore ice, Ari can't be face-checked. Seb inverts the value of tags in his favor, makes trashing things difficult, though you should still be willing to trash cards against Seb, and that is a drum that I will beat forever, and can obliterate ice on contact with some of the least effort we've ever seen in the game of Netrunner. This is not Parasucker, it's easier. Seb wins by submission. And I don't think submission should be a legitimate win condition. I just don't. Seb does not care about agendas. Basically at all. Seb on 0-6 can be winning. And that is vile. That's messed up. That's just not healthy, Netrunner. So, again, while I think that it would be easy to balance Seb, because the ID is fine, it would just require dinging some cards in the pool, the likes of Crew or Charm or what have you. I don't 100% have a hard stance on what that card should be. I know that NSG has mentioned that they're keeping an eye on Crew. I'd be inclined to say that would probably solve it, because it would turn off the very easily recurred delete button. But regardless, Seb's board state accelerates by stopping the corp from playing Netrunner. And so it continues to proliferate, he gets his ID proc, he does his thing, and the corp can't act. And so it is a headlock, but it is a headlock that deletes the board in a way that is, for most corps, irrecoverable. Like, it just cannot be done. The fact that so many Seb games go to time, and in a lot of cases, when the game is going to time, the Sebs have to scramble to secure their win because they finally need to go find agendas, is not a good sign. That happens, it doesn't happen a ton, but it happens a lot. Because there are a lot of matchups where Seb just is not incentivized to play the game and is instead just incentivized to dismantle the board over and over and over and over until the corp simply cannot hold their agendas anywhere anymore. and they pool up enough that Seb's single accesses or maybe doubles with Manuel are enough to win the game, because that's all he needs to do. There are matchups that Seb is not the best deck into. The post-cut win rate being right at 50% should tell you that the corps that are surviving Seb in Swiss are capable of fighting Seb. So when I say that I don't think Seb is as nuts as Ob is, understand that I mean it. I actually really like Seb. But the problem right now is that Seb is constraining corp design space significantly by way of obliterating almost every suboptimal corp on contact, getting into the cut, and then playing his game. And I don't think that that is good for the longevity of the game, not just because it is a strong thing to be doing, and not because I think it's like the number one super the best unbeatable thing. It's totally beatable. That's not the point. The point is that this is an absolute NPE factory. That's a negative player experience, for those who don't know. And people on the whole are really hating playing against Seb. Like, playing against Seb is often completely miserable. I put up with it. We've seen worse, frankly. But, like, I was there for FFG. We've had worse than this. All right, there's been far worse uninteractive stuff. I lived through Apocalypse, y'all. Like, it could be worse than this. But anytime Ice Destruction is amazing, you really need to take a step back and look at it and just be like, all right, what do we need to do? Like, obviously something needs to be done. It's just a question of what. However, NSG have been good stewards of the game for the most part, and I really do trust that they will, like, handle this appropriately. I don't even know what appropriately is. I don't have a solution at this time. Understand that, unlike Ob, I am not just saying, like, oh, we need to ban a bunch of stuff. Like, no, I don't think so. I think that fixing this could be pretty simple. And honestly, if Seb gets taken down a peg, and is less capable of destroying stuff, but is still kind of a cool orange criminal, and ends up, like, here or whatever, this is a pretty sweet meta for runners. Like, I actually really like the options that we have here. I'm down. I'm super down. Like, if Seb is no longer capable of just deleting servers and taking the game to time super reliably, suddenly we have a runner pool that feels really good. Like, all of this is great. There's just this looming specter over the game right now that is making playing Corp really frustrating for a lot of people. And I'm trying to be sympathetic to that. So that's where I'm at. This is the actual tier list at the moment. If anything happens to Seb, I legitimately think that, like, runners are actually kind of in an amazing spot, and there's really no archetype you can't play. But archetype is different from ID for the most part. So again, Highlander with Nova, not a real archetype. You can't really play that. Everybody down here is just worse at doing their thing than people above, with the exception of Mercury, whose thing is just not very good right now because of the new corp cards. Everybody in here, perfectly viable. You can take them, you can win, I believe in you. Everybody up here, a little bit better at doing it. You can take them, you can win, I believe in you. Seb right now represents an archetype that I think will probably have to be touched in some kind of way. If and when that happens, he'll be great, and I believe in him. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I am actually more optimistic on the runner stuff than I am on some of the corp stuff, to be honest. I really do think that a lot of runner stuff is, like, fun and engaging and enjoyable. And then there is current iteration of Seb. So we'll see what happens. But overall, that's me. I'm only going to ramble from here, so I'm going to stop. Good lord, this still made 30 minutes. I just can't shut up. All right, catch y'all later. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.